Thank you for clicking on this full card breakdown for today's UFC Fight Night, Blanchfield vs. Barber. Let me know who you guys are picking. Enjoy! Alright, so the first matchup on today's card is Rayan dos Santos vs. Alice Ardili. Thank you for clicking on this full card breakdown for today's UFC Fight Night, Blanchfield vs. Barber. Let me know who you guys are picking. Enjoy! Alright, so the first matchup on today's card is Rayan dos Santos vs. Alice Ardili. Dos Santos showing to be the more technical fighter and has faced tough competition in my opinion. Rayan has also shown us she can get hit but still keep her power and energy up. Ardili fights a bit off balance as well, leading me to lean heavily towards Rayan dos Santos in this women's strawweight matchup. Next we have Bolaji Oki vs. Michael Aswell, with an easy lean towards Bolaji Oki. Oki's original opponent withdrew from this fight, leaving Aswell to fill in somewhat last notice. Medeiros vs. Oki was going to be a great matchup, but against Aswell, I believe Bolaji Oki to have the better fighting with a great takedown game against Aswell, who has shown to struggle and not really fight on the ground. Bolaji Oki is also coming in with a 2-inch hit advantage as well as a 4-inch reach advantage. Also looks like Bolaji Oki had a good training camp, looking solid and not drained at weigh-ins. Up next we have Jordan Levitt vs. Kurt Holloway, a classic youth versus age matchup. I give Kurt Holloway massive props, showing to still have a great chin and a way to get out of submissions and takedowns. Unfortunately, I do believe youth will win here as Jordan Levitt does show a higher fight speed. I don't believe he will TKO Holloway, and Levitt's ground game hasn't been too impressive, so I am leaning Levitt with a decision victory off of sheer volume. Alright, now to Alan Nascimento vs. Jafel Filho. This right here is probably one of the fights I am looking forward to most, with both fighters fighting out of Brazil with a very similar fighting style. I am leaning towards the underdog Filho, as he has shown the better grappling and control of opponents when they are on the ground, work effectively towards his submissions. Alan seems to be a little less competent on the ground even when utilizing the assistance of Charles Oliveira in his corner. Also, Alan did not look good at weigh-ins, looking like he might have had a tough cut trying to make weight, which isn't a good sign when considering he will be going up against Filho's explosive fight style. With the next fight, Zach Reese vs. Duško Todorovic, I am leaning heavily towards Zach Reese, as most YouTube predictors and fighting community are. Zach Reese has both a 3-inch height and reach advantage and just appeared to be towering over Duško Todorovic at weigh-ins. These two fighters are evenly matched when it comes to their striking statistically. However, Zach Reese has fought tougher competition and is ranked significantly higher in ELO ratings. Where Zach Reese's advantage really shows is in his ground game, averaging 2.1 submissions per 15 minute. Now, this fight really does have me looking forward to watching, as Ketlen Vieira and Maycee Chason face off in the first fight of the main card. Chason shows high speed and great footwork, landing nice strikes, whereas Vieira has fought against tough opponents. Chason just looks prime though, and fighting like a champion with a competent ground game to complement her striking. Vieira has looked bigger than her opponents, which is something I thought Chason might have a problem with, but after watching the two face off, Chason looked like the clearly bigger fighter. Combine that with her striking speed and versatility if fight goes to the ground, and I think you have a winner against a slower, more careful Vieira. Up next is the second fight of the main card, Dustin Jacoby vs. Bruno Lopes. I have Jacoby winning this fight as he is the better striker. However, Bruno Lopes has a nice 14 wins, 1 loss, although compared to 20 wins, 9 losses. Dustin Jacoby is ranked higher in ELO ratings. I see this fight staying on the feet, and if it does, Dustin Jacoby is the far superior striker, landing 5.3 strikes per minute compared to Bruno's 2.89. Bruno does have a ground game, however I believe Dustin Jacob's takedown defense will be enough to neutralize and could cost Bruno points if he is unsuccessful on his takedown attempts. Now let's go over Ramiz Brahimaj vs. Billy Ray Goff. It is a pretty easy decision leaning in Goff's favor. Goff's original opponent has dropped out of this fight, leaving Ramiz Brahimaj to deal with Goff's incredible 8.56 strikes per minute and 2 takedowns per 15 minutes. Goff also sports a 100% takedown defense, limiting Ramiz's options of a ground game as well. Ramiz doesn't have a great strike defense either, while Billy Ray Goff does. Billy Ray Goff is the easy pick here. And finally, for the co-main event, we have Mateusz Gamrot vs. Ludovic Klein, in which I believe will be another great matchup. We have Initially I thought Gamrot was the easy pick, but after considering how Gamrot has looked when getting rocked, that has me leaning towards the striker Eludovit Klein. Eludovit Klein sports an impressive 91% takedown defense, while Mateusz Gamrot's biggest advantage seems to be that ground game. If Klein land a few of those big punches we've seen, Gamrot might fade and not be able to recover. I'm going with Eludovit Klein on this one. And now the main event that could possibly determine the next women's flyweight title fight. We have Erin Blanchfield versus Maycee Barber. With a heavy lean towards Blanchfield. Records are just about even and striking is very similar, however Blanchfield has the better strike defense. Also sporting a complete game, whereas Maycee Barber seems to keep things on the feet, and Blanchfield has a superior takedown defense and a 0.8 submissions per 15 minutes compared to Barber's 0.1. One thing to note is Barber missed weight at weigh-ins and was already looking completely drained and not good. Looks like she has been on a huge cut, and that means depriving the body of valuable nutrients, etc. With this being the case, and already considering how this game might just stay on the feet at Blanchfield's will, I would not be surprised to see Maycee Barber's energy not able to keep up in this 5-round fight. Thank you all so much again for watching. I will be coming out with more of this kind of content earlier in the week, so that all this info is ready for you all a couple days before the fight rather than the day of. But thank you all so much again, and if you like the info in this video, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can be posted on the next breakdown. Enjoy the fights!